So, Marvel's What If Season 2 is finally over, and I gotta tell you, I think this was way better than Season 1. I think it just had more episodes and overall just had a better understanding of the terms of what if and the concept in general. Now, I want to do a ranking of all the episodes for both seasons separately, but for this video, I want to talk about my problems with What If and how I feel like it doesn't really live up to its true potential. Because I kind of feel like What If is the kind of example and overall problem with Phase 4 and 5 of Marvel is they have all these great concepts, but they don't really act on them, or they don't use their true potential, what they could have been. And there are many problems I have for What If, which I just want to dive in deep right now. And I just want to talk about a minor thing I have, which is the fact that this is animated.
Buster, it may come as a complete surprise to you to find that this is an animated cartoon.
Now, I don't hate that this is animated. If anything, I love that this is animated so we could have all the characters we want to play with, all the different types of like action styles that wouldn't be possible with real life. But whenever I say I have a problem with the fact that it's animated, I mean by I can tell that the writers and the people making the show wanted this to be live action, but just didn't have the actors, because obviously you couldn't get the actors to come back to do any or all of this at all. It's just easier to have them come back as voice actors, because that just makes more practical sense. But it just feels like they're kind of restricted by the fact that I could tell that they were really pushing to do at least some of this in live action, but just never got a hold of that. That's just a minor thing that I could obviously tell with. The second thing that's small, because I want to talk about the big points later, is the runtime.
You're still here? It's over.
I feel like the runtime really does kill this show immensely, and it's a really big problem with that. I feel like the best What If episodes are ones that feel self-contained. Whenever I mean that, I mean that they have a concept that is good for that short runtime that works. I feel like a good example of this is the Avengers murder mystery, because although it does feel like it could have a sequel episode, it stands alone on itself for the fact that it's a simple one and done episode that concludes with its what if purpose. It's just simple and tells it straight. A bad example of this is the what if Killmonger found Tony Stark and rescued him. Now, I really do enjoy that episode, but it just bothers me the fact that it just doesn't feel like it really concluded. It feels like it's just getting started, exactly. You know, like we have Killmonger basically taking over the throne of Wakanda, going up against like the US, hell, the world in general, and then it just ends with him later being chosen by the Watcher. It's like, really? That's how we're gonna end things? Because we could have gone so much farther and we could have done more story with these, and we can't just because of a short runtime. I feel like if the runtime was longer, then we could tell better stories, because you can't have these like movie style concepts but just not able to do so because of its runtime. But overall, I think my main problem with this series, because the runtime and the whole animated thing, that's just the small things. That doesn't really matter. But the big thing that really irks me about What If is the fact that it basically cheapens or ruins the MCU by its characters or events, because it just makes some of the actions and what they do to seem kind of pointless, or just overall makes them worse characters and just ruins them. I think a great example of this, by trying to get you to understand what I mean, is with Ego. In Season 2, one of my favorite episodes, if not the best episode of Season 2 in my opinion, is What If Yondu Delivered Peter Quill. Now, on its own, that's a great concept, that's a great episode, which it is. But whenever I actually stop to think about it, it kind of ruins Ego for the MCU. Because whenever you actually stop to think about it, if you think to yourself, wait a minute, if Yondu did this, wouldn't Ego have always lost? Doesn't it make it seem like Ego is like a worse villain, like a worse character, because he always would have lost no matter what his plan was? It just makes him seem like less of a character. And then along with that, we have Yondu from the Star-Lord episode, because we go like, Yondu could have easily been convinced to, be a good guy, or Thanos would have been convinced to be a good guy. That's all that Thanos needed in the MCU, a good talking to. That said, like, I'm sorry, but in the MCU, that never would have happened. Like, how does that sound to you? The fact that you have all these characters from the MCU that are basically the same one-to-one characters with minor flaws or differences, and you're telling me that minor flaw or difference completely just changes that character? Like, I'm sorry, but T'Challa on his own couldn't convince Yondu to do all that good stuff. He couldn't convince Thanos to not commit genocide. It's even worse because he keeps mentioning it in the show as if he still wants to do it.
That sounds an awful lot like genocide.
No, because it's random. And I might add, efficient.
The same thing, in my opinion, applies to whenever they kill off characters. Like, I'm fine if you kill off characters, but do it in a way that makes sense. Not do it for an easy, cheap way that's just for the sake of plot so you could rush it for a short runtime.
Fascinating. I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
I know people already meme it to death, but Vision killing Thanos is like, I'm sorry, but like, you need to have a better reason for it's so stupid. And I know people say, yeah, it's for the plot, it's for the story, or whatever, but we are talking about the mainline MCU, because if you have these stories set in the MCU, you should abide by those rules. Now, I know some people are going to talk about, oh, you know, like Vision, he was stabbed by Corvus Glade, so the blade, you know, that he couldn't do his, you know, laser. But I say to you, if he wasn't stabbed, would the MCU Vision easily be able to kill Thanos? And if so, that would ruin the plot for Infinity War. You can't have these stories basically just ruin the mainline movies just because you want to do some cheap, fun thrills or kills, you know what I mean? Like, you need to have real consequence and real understanding of the characters and the world that they live in to have a good story, or else you're just doing make-believe. If that were the case, just do regular What If, just do comic version of What If. Like, I'm sorry, but I feel like What If can be so much more, different art styles, different stories, but no, we have to be contained to the mainline MCU to where if you do anything wrong, then you ruin the characters or the story that it's based off of. Yeah, okay. Ooh, I just ranted there for a minute. That was not part of the script. Jeez. Okay, but in the end, overall, if there's anything that I also have a problem with, it's Captain Carter. But not Captain Carter as the character. I think she's fine. But Captain Carter is the main embodiment of the problem of my sole reason for why I don't like this series, or why I think it could be better, is the fact that this is interconnected. I don't know why this show has a need to be connected for every single season, apparently, because I feel like these writers feel like they can't make this show unless it ends with some big crossover finale, and Captain Carter somehow needs to be the center of it. I think she's the biggest example of the problem of What If, is that it just feels so lazy and just so tired, because I'm sorry, but Peggy being Captain America isn't really a difference. Like, they're both basically like kind-hearted, you know, loyal, like dependent people. Making her Captain America isn't cool. It's not different. It's not wacky enough. It's just, I don't even know what to say. And why, by God Almighty, did she get the one sequel episode? Even though I do like that one. That's a good episode. But then at the end, it just ties into the 1602 plot and then the overall plot. And I'm like, What If doesn't need to be some big thing? Like, with all these season finales, it just feels like some big, dumb kid playing with their action figures, just hitting them one another. Like, do they really need to be connected at the end? I feel like it's better whenever they're just like their own thing, like some Twilight episode. But no, we need to go like, the Watcher needs to assemble a ragtag crew to defeat Ultron with his gobbledygook machine or whatever. No, Benedict Cumberbatch, he's going crazy. We just assassinated his character. Like, I really don't know. Like, I feel like this show has so much potential, but they just squander it with all these stupid ideas. You don't need to connect the episodes. We don't need to have so much Captain Carter. Like, I'm sorry to say this. I am gonna rant right now. How is it that we have had more stuff with Captain Carter, but not our Sam Wilson's Captain America? It is just mind-blowing to me. Like, I don't get it. And I know it's like it's animated in a small cameo, Multiverse of Madness. But if you actually want to fix your MCU, focus on the main stuff. Focus on your main characters. Like what? look, the reason why I care so much about What If is because I remember as a kid and still now, I still have my own like revisions or own thoughts in my head of like what could have been, what could be changed. I remember growing up and still watching how it should have ended. I see fun edits of like these like what if Thanos met the Avengers in 2012, or what if Andrew Garfield was put into the Avengers and stuff like that, to where it just seems like so fun and like all these different things could have been. And I feel like What If is like really just scratching the surface of what could be done. Now, I don't know if it's because of like limitations or what the studio wants of them, but I really feel like it's very limited in when we get like really great episodes, we see that they have the true potential to do great things. And I am hyped for season 3. The Winter Soldier and Red Guardian episode seems really great. It's just, I just want more out of this show because I know it can do more from what I've seen. But that's really about all it. Thank you for watching all the way through. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and ponder the question, what if you subscribed right now?